Welcome back, everyone. It's been a great day so far, and we have some more fantastic presentations coming for you, like this one, Trillion Energy. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol TCFF and is an oil and gas producing company with multiple assets throughout Turkey and Bulgaria. Please welcome President Arthur Halleran. Welcome, Arthur.
Thank you very much for the intro.
Yes, whenever you're ready, we look forward to your presentation.
So I'll just pull down the slides here. Okay, so as mentioned, I'm Art Halleran, the CEO and president of Trillion Energy. It's an oil and gas producer in Turkey. We're listed on the Canadian Security Exchange, Frankfurt, and the OTC. And the picture you can see here is one of our platforms in the Black Sea. This is just a disclaimer. So I'm going to be having a lot of better diagrams for this, and this is a lot of words here, but we are an oil and gas producer in Turkey, and we have exploration and development properties also in Turkey and in Bulgaria, and we have a very experienced management. Currently, our best asset is in the Black Sea. We're a 49% owner of a $600 million asset called SESB, and it's offshore the Black Sea. And to date, we have produced about $355 million worth of gas from 4 pools. There's a large gas add that we can have. We have 4 discovered unproduced gas pools, 6 low-risk development, and we have a third-party engineering report that gives it about a $250 million value to Trillion. And as you'll see in my presentation, we have additional exploration and so on. We do have an LOI for our financing of $17.5 million US, and it's a combination of royalty, equity, and predominantly debt. And this is to fund our development of the proven discovered gas is not producing. We're well on the way. It's taking a little longer because we're in COVID time, and Turkey was pretty well in a complete shutdown, but they're starting to ease some of the restrictions. And we're in a high gas regime. And the real game changer now is that the Turkish government has a discovery called Tuna 1, which is about 14 TCF gas in the Black Sea north of us. And just recently, they have another one with about 5 TCF of gas. And why this is a game changer is before the conversation was you could have large structures, but there was not enough gas generated to actually fill the structures. And this shows that there was a lot of gas generated. For the SESB natural gas field in the Black Sea, the cursor doesn't work here, but we're close to the shore. And on this little insert, you can see that we have the Tuna gas discovery, the Tuna 1. So the SESB, we have 4 producing platforms, which are have produced 42 BCF of gas. We have additional producing wells or wells that are capable of production that we're going to be bringing on along with the development and so on, that we feel a total of about 165 BCF potentially in the future there. The GLJ reserve report gives us a 2P NPT10 of $62 million. If we just get that production on, we will have 1.2 to 1.8 million net production after cost per month. Additional to that, we have assessed GLJ 6 low-risk undrilled gas prospects. And again, the low case is about 83 million. So that gives us about $150 million NPV10 at the low case situation. Management, we have 14 additional exploration gas resource prospects and we looked at those quite closely. This just quickly shows you the infrastructure that we have that's worth about 600 million. We have 4 producing platforms, offshore gathering pipeline system coming onshore to our facility. This diagram now, or figure, illustrates our gas field and the prospects, and the 4 red stars are the fields that we have produced, and they're still producing. 2021, with the $17 million US, we're going to start our development, bringing on the discovered non-producing gas pools. These gas pools have been drilled, tested, mapped, and the reserves are there. We have a GLJ third-party engineering report that says that. So we intend in 2021, 2022 to drill the structures, the traps, the pools with the yellow stars, including 2 well recompletions. So our work program will be roughly like this. It's broken into 2 stages because the rig that is for the deeper water is not available until March. So instead of waiting until March 2022, there's a smaller rig, not a smaller rig, but the legs are shorter, which we can use for the tripods in the more shallow water. So once we get the funding, we'll spud our first well in October. And this is just the activity. So it's recompletion, drill, and then we'll bring the 2 wells on. Because we're drilling from the platforms to the pools, there is no subsea completions, no pipeline tie-ins. We'll be producing right up the casing, and so the production is almost instantaneous once we complete it. And so we have a hiatus that we will be able to have production, generate cash flow, which will supplement the financing that we got. And in March, we will then continue with the program, and we'll have 5 wells drilled and completed and 2 recompletions on production. We will continue, because now we'll have generated cash flow from the production. We will continue with the low-risk development locations, which are now these yellow stars, and that will be 2022 to 2023. And some of the pools that are the discovered not produced will have 1 or 2 or 3 wells in it, but it's prudent to have production for a short while to understand the exact size of it, so you don't end up overcapitalizing. So drilling 2 wells instead of 3. So some of the locations will be just follow-up wells from our discoveries. And we'll have 1 exploration well, which is up here. And that is, by that time, we'll have the seismic reprocessed, because the exploration wells are a stratigraphic type trap. So they're slightly different, which I'll explain in the future here. So this will be the production, the work activity for 2022 to 2023. We'll just continue to drill and complete the wells and bring gas on production. And this program here will be 8 wells, and we will re-enter 1 well, and this will be an additional $42 million. So the production profile will end up producing 11 BCF per year. So for the first program, $1.2 to $1.8 million US per month after cost. And if we stack these other wells up like we're planning to, we will be doubling that for free cash flow net our company. So this just summarizes our NPV 10 about this asset here. So if you look on the far left, you have the low case scenario is 144 million NPV10 GLJ2P, which are the discovered, not producing, and the low risk development. And then you upsize it to 3P, and you got pretty close to 200 and, almost $300 million there, NPV10. The next two columns are what I call management estimate. And this is putting the proper recovery factor in because engineer uses 50 to 70% recovery factor. So a medium case of about 60%, whereas we have experience with these fields. We've produced them from discovery to death. We know the recovery is 80%. And also removing what I call paper cuts. So when the engineer does a report, they give us a 10% penalty risk factor by saying, in case you don't raise the money. So we raise the money, we get rid of the recovery. We're now in the center here, which you have, I have to put my glasses on, the writing's too small. You have 214 million US for 1P NPV10 and up to 367 million US for a 3P for our estimate. I won't discuss the far right at the moment. So what we've been chasing so far are structural traps. This is a vertical cross section through the pool. So it's about 1 kilometer wide and 5 kilometers long. It's structural, you can see it easy in seismic. We're going to be pursuing stratigraphic. The red circles indicate the pools that we are producing, the structural ones, and the other little blobs that come off are stratigraphic traps. It's a seismic of the old seismic interpretation of the stratigraphic traps, and what they are, they're just buried river channels, quite large, that can be filled up with gas. We're going to be reprocessing the seismic, doing some new technology on the seismic because the quality of seismic we have is actually quite good, so that we can see higher gas saturation to lower any risk. And so there's quite a few of these exploration type prospects, and we will end up testing one before we start going into full development of these stratigraphic traps. So now we look at the far right, and this is adding the exploration stratigraphic traps. You have a medium 2P of about $450 million NPV10. That's net trillion. You add the exploration and kind of 3P high estimate, you're up to 836 million NPV10 net us trillion. This value is only on the block, okay? And I'm stressing that. And now I'm going to relate this to our current share price to show you how severely undervalued our shares are. This is a recent share price trends or graphs. And in February, we were down to 3 cents. We started getting the news out, and we went up to 60 cents, and now we're in the 30-cent range. And also our activity also increased. On the OTC, this is also reflected the same. So our shares now are in the 30-cent Canadian range, which is severely undervalued. This is a comparison done by Fundamental Research, and it just gives a comparison and gives us a value of about 50 cents US. And of course, that's their opinion. Currently, our value, market value is about 38 million US, and it's still undervalued severely. The top company, Canacol Energy, actually is a company I was a founder in Colombia, and I'm just trying to say here that I've done this before a couple of times, like actually 2 or 3 times, and I see Trillion Energy as another really good candidate for a similar story as in Canonical Energy, which is now the largest gas producer in Colombia. This is the important slide. Everything leads up to this slide here. This gives you the potential of the share value for Trillion, and very low case, severely pessimistic, we're at still at close to $1 US, and that is the far left. Using 3P from the GLJ reports, we're at about $1.74, and this is again US. Using our 80% recovery factor, 2P to 3P, we're like $1.40 to $2.40, and this again is from the known low-risk development and from the already discovered, tested, mapped, but not produced field. So this range between $1.40 to $2.40 is very, very realistic for what we have as very, very low risk. Put in some of the on-block upside, the expiration, you're now starting to get close to $3 to $5.50 of value per share, and that's with the greater than 800 million NPV10 for our interest. And what I'm going to stress again, this is for our block only. And so here, on this slide here is the reason why for the last 4 years I've worked for Trillion, because I took over in July 2017. I have not really, predominantly all my wages I've rolled into shares, and I have not really received any really cash or anything. It's all tied up into security, because I see another Canonical here. I look at the share value. We have a paid for infrastructure, and we have this potential just sitting there waiting to be tapped. And so to me, that's a good return for my 4 years. I could have started many other things in the last 4 years, but I see the value here too great. Let's talk about gas exploration off the block. You can see our block sitting here and the Tuna discovery to the north. Again, here's the next slide shows you our block, which is that little piece in there. We at one time used to own all the land in the red. We have the seismic data, the geological data, maps, everything on it, in storage, in our files. And so now we're going to pursue the targets along there because we know they can now be charged with gas. We can look for similar type of prospects that we already drill that run off our property. I just want to show you again the type of structure. 1 kilometer wide. This is a vertical section. These are what we're producing from. Now you put it into content of what we know exists. You can see the little tiny red circle on the left. That is a gas pool we're producing from. And then towards the right, you can see that there's a 9-kilometer structure with the same sediments on it. And now we can go back in there and do some exploration, potentially apply for the block. And again, the next slide, the next illustration, another one that's 4 kilometers in size. These are the larger ones. This is a section, a seismic section running from our field. I removed all the locations on it so that people don't know exactly where they are. This structure is 35 kilometers in size. On top of it, you will have structural traps, and on the flank, you'll have on-lapping reservoir sands that can be trapped with gas, and you're talking TCF here, not BCF. So in conclusion, we have a large paid-for infrastructure with potentially over 100 BCF or low-risk gas on our block. We have an LOI for 72.5 million financing to develop it. Our shares are extremely undervalued. A medium evaluation is about $1.40 to $2.40. If you put similar exploration prospect types on our block, you got up to $3 to $5, and we have very large future exploration targets not included in this assessment, sitting close to our block. And the last thing I want to mention, because I always forget, we do have an oil field, and being out of with the price of oil increasing and so on, and we had 2 good workovers. We basically have gone from a 5-month COVID to May 2020, $650,000 gross revenue to equivalent this year of 1.3. So we expect to make over $3 million this year revenue from this oil field for our field. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Great presentation as always. And we do have a few questions and we have a few minutes. So let's start. Can you give us an idea of what percentage of your proven reserves that have not begun production amounts to what you are currently producing?
What we're currently producing, those fields have basically have been depleted. We're producing those fields right now so that we don't shut in the $600 million infrastructure. So our new fields are going to bring on will be 100% of our new production, predominantly.
And is your current cash position sufficient to keep you from raising additional money? And if not, how long will your current cash position last? And when will you need to raise more money? Also, when will you raise more money? And are you looking into straight equity or convertible or debt type instruments?
So that's kind of a
lot of questions.
Number of questions. Yeah. So when we get our equity finance, our $17.5 million, we should be able to use that to bring on 5 wells. Recompletion will generate $1.4 to $1.8 million cash flow per month, which will be enough to continue our other work. So we shouldn't have to go back for an equity raise. But if we did went back for an equity raise, the price of the shares will be substantially higher because we'll have 5, 6, 7 gas wells on production. If, for example, we were to do exploration and we were to find one of these large structures that we would want to drill, potentially at that time, which would be a year, 2 years from now, we might have to do an equity raise depending on our cash position.
Talk a little bit about how the exchange of the Turkish lira will be impacting your projected USD cash flow going forward.
Okay, so how the gas pricing works is that it is based on an external price. So it's based on a US dollar, and it has the price of oil and so on put into it. So we get that price in US dollars, but they convert it in country, because we're an in-country producer, to the Turkish lira. So as the Turkish lira devaluates, there is a lag time. So we get paid 40 Turkish lira per MCF, and is converted to a US dollar. As the Turkish lira devaluates, we don't quite get the same amount in US because we actually get paid in US. But the government corrects it. So right now there's a 1% correction per month. And eventually, if it's not corrected for the price that they get on the outside, they will lose too much money, and too much foreign capital will be sent out. And therefore, the long-term price is always about $6 to $7.
Talk a little bit about how hopefully COVID is coming to an end and what impact that's going to have on your growth for 2022.
Well, COVID has impacted us substantially. So things have taken a lot longer, listing the financing that we wanted to do and this is all being straightforward. We had people lined up when we listed on the CSE, which was February last year. But then COVID came, and then all the money just ducked away. So then we went through a COVID time, which I feel we had to issue a lot of, I call COVID paper. And that was to generate enough capital to keep the company going. So COVID has delayed us by a year and has resulted in us putting out more paper than we wanted to at a cheaper price. Going forward, though, once the COVID restrictions are gone, things will speed up and we will get better pricing for our oil. But for the gas price, the COVID never really affected the gas price much.
So the oil ETFs, they're breaking a 52-week high. Could it be in the cards for Trillion to uplist to NASDAQ? And would that have to happen before an ETF took interest in Trillion?
Yeah, so we're having an AGM, and we have to have a certain requirements to do with like share price. Actually, that's the main issue right now is our price of share. We have to be, I think it's like the $2 to $3 to $4 range to be able to list, but we are working on upgrading to list on that exchange. But that won't be an overnight process.
And last question, what is the reasoning for the reverse stock split and increased outstanding shares to 400K?
Okay, that's a good question. The reverse stock split is to be able to uplift the value of our shares to list on the NASDAQ. So that's one of the requirements. And also, we currently have a float of about 250 million shares. So we're only increasing it 150 million shares. And that is to give us more leeway to potentially raise money. But at the same time, if at the shareholder meeting, the reverse rollback is voted on and accepted, that means our float of 250 million shares will also be rolled back. So we need that uplift to be able to have a large enough share base that if our shares are at a high enough price, we can raise enough money.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Arthur. Great presentation, and we really look forward to all of your future updates.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, as we transition to our next and last presenter, remember there's going to be a quick black screen, but stay with us because we're coming right back.